Ladies and gentlemen, you ready for this one? This is a story from like a couple days ago, but oh boy. From the Post-Millennial, California Democrat Senate candidate wants to raise minimum wage to $50 per hour. These are special people. They're special. Their brains don't work, so we have to be nice. But if your society allows people who are cognitively deficient to hold office, your country will fail. Yeah. I'll keep it simple for you. If a guy comes to my house to fix my toilet, and he doesn't know anything about fixing toilets, he will likely make the problem worse. It is no different if it is a plumber or a politician. A woman who does not understand how business works clearly will get into office and just make the problem worse. I invite you to test this theory out and hire an electrician to build you an airplane. Now, hold on. Electricians are smart guys, okay? They can probably do a lot of electrical stuff. But I don't know that they're going to completely understand how a plane flies. They could probably, based off sight and understanding with what they've done, build some kind of rudimentary flying device. It just will not be up to the same standards as like a Cessna or a Cirrus or, a Learjet. You know what I mean? Okay. So I'm not saying she is mentally deficient to an extreme degree.
Which probably she is.
Perhaps. I'm saying this woman clearly has no idea what she's talking about and will not be able to pilot this ship effectively. Let's be respectful.
The CPI numbers, the inflation numbers just came out today or yesterday, and they're still 3 and change percent. So they're still at least 50% higher than what the government's target is, because the target's 2%. Yeah. And these are year over year. So it's 3% from 3% higher from last year, but last year was ridiculously high.
I'm gonna educate you, lady. Okay, Democrat Barbara Lee. She says she noted a recent report that stated in the Bay Area, $127,000 for a family of 4 is just barely enough to get by. Another survey said $104,000 for a family of 1, barely enough to get by, low income because of the affordability crisis. Just do the math. Of course, we have national minimum wages that we need to raise to a living wage. We're talking about $20, $25, fine, but I've got to be focused on what California needs and what the affordability factor is when we calculate this wage. Let's start. Okay, so the problem is you can't afford to live in San Francisco and buy food. So we decided to raise the minimum wage to $50 an hour. Now, a guy who works at a grocery store is making $50 an hour. Okay, well, in order to stock and sell the groceries, the employees who work at the grocery store getting paid $50 an hour, we're going to have to sell the goods at that store substantially more to cover the cost of the employees who are working there. Let's break it all the way down to a coffee stand. A little box, all they do is sell a cup of coffee. Costs about 50 cents to make a cup of coffee. Then you got to pay for the cup, then you got to pay for the lid, then you got to pay the employee. The employee's getting $50 per hour. Okay, how many cups of coffee are you going to have to sell every hour in order to cover the cost of this employee? If you sell 1 cup of coffee per hour at your coffee stand, that cup of coffee will cost $52 because it has to pay, by law, $50 an hour. But let's say your coffee stand sells 10 cups per hour. Okay, fine. That I suppose. So each cup of coffee probably costs about $6-7 at this point for literally just a stand. But there's electricity, there's regulation. I'd think at $50 an hour, your cup of coffee, if you're selling 10 an hour, you'd have to sell it for about $8 or $9 for a small cup of coffee. Now we're not talking about cream. Cream and sugar were not included in that equation. Cream spoils. I think we'd be looking at maybe like $12 to $13 for a cup of coffee. And if at any point you sold less than 10 an hour, you go out of business. Let's do the basic math now, expanding, moving forward. This individual wants to rent an apartment. You need $127,000 a year. You got an apartment cost $2,000. So we say, okay, $50 an hour. Now you can afford that apartment, right? You work at a coffee stand. Bang, you're making a lot of money. Okay, well, now we got to get an electrician to fix the lights. Now we got to get a plumber to fix the toilet. We got to pay city taxes. Well, the unfortunate thing is that anybody who does any work for this building is going to have to at least get $50 an hour. So in order to cover those costs, the landlord, the owner of the building, is going to have to raise the price of rent for everybody. You see, it's just a special degree of stupid.
Also, just so you know, I can't afford to pay for that coffee anymore, so I'm going to stop shopping there. They might not actually be able to sell coffee anymore now that they raise the prices so high, and they might have to close down. And then the employee's going to lose his job. Where else is he going to work? Do it again to the next company?
So here's the best thing. I learned this when I was talking to an accountant when New Jersey raised the minimum wage by like $1. They were doing it in increments or whatever. And he said 30% of my clients have shut down over this because there is no such thing as a gradual increase. There is only an immediate increase by the increment they've declared at the time. So what they'll say is, we're going to go from $10 to $12 an hour, but we'll do it slowly over time. Not true. What ends up happening is they say, in 6 months, it'll go up 50 cents. In 6 months, another 50 cents until we reach 12. That means for every small business, they have to add 50 cents per hour as soon as that deadline hits, which instantly increases their costs. For a lot of these businesses, the overwhelming majority of businesses in this country, it is just some family or some guy who's making $30,000, $40,000 a year as the owner of his hot dog stand, his pizza shop, or whatever it is. You increase his labor costs by 10% overnight, or I think this would be like 7 or 8%. All you're doing is saying he should make less or shut down. What ended up happening in New Jersey, tons of small businesses just closed overnight. I think that's on purpose. They want Walmart, Amazon, everything to take over.
That's the goal of globalists. Mm-hmm. That's so sad, honestly.
Yeah, it'll be like Idiocracy, just one big Costco.
Everybody's wearing Crocs.
Yeah. Was that what they were doing in Idiocracy?
Yeah, there's a story that goes along with that. When they were actually filming, they needed to get everybody in shoes, and the set designer or the designer said, "Okay, we got these," and they were like, "They're like, what are you doing with these?" They're like, "No one's ever going to wear them. They look ridiculous," and now everyone's wearing them.
Yeah, it's crazy how they took off. I noticed an image that you took me a little while ago.
Oh yes,
yeah. You're an indoor Crocs fan as well.
I do have a pair of Crocs for home use,
Likewise.
but home use only.
Likewise, yes, same here.
Yo, this is wild. $50 an hour for a salary job. She's basically saying all employees, no matter what they do, have to get $104,000 per year.
Yeah, and then that just means that the $104,000 is no longer going to have the buying power that $104,000 has now. These are such simple, basic economic
101
principles. These are it's as 101 as it gets. Yeah. So like, if they're going to there's arguments to be made about UBI, and there are people that want to make that argument and stuff, and that's one thing, right? You want to get rid of other programs so that way you can have a UBI, so everybody has some kind of basic income. It's fine, but that's still going to affect the inflation rate. It's still going to be inflationary. Anytime you print money into the system without taking money out, it's inflationary.
Yeah, it makes it
so if they don't cut, you're not going to fix any of the problems, and any of these things that they're doing that are inflationary, they only make our problem worse. $33,000 billion. 33,000 billion.
So,
jeez,
there is a diminishing return on in some areas of businesses. There is an exponential return depending on the business you're working in. For this business, for instance, there is a diminishing return on revenue. The more that we produce for Timcast.com, the less we actually make. So it's really funny. Sometimes we'll get messages from people and they'll be like, I was watching, a members only show and I saw this and I'm upset, so I'm canceling my membership. And I'm like, man, it's actually wild because we have the same amount of members now as we did before we made that thing. And so it's like, if we did not give you the extra thing, you would not have canceled your membership, right? So at a certain point, there's an upper limit to the reach we have and the amount of conversions we can actually get. One thing I think we would benefit from that I just don't really want to do is what every other company does, and it's membership retention. So there's a lot of people who stop being members because their card expires and they would love to be members, but they just forgot about it. And that's why companies will hire someone to get on the phone or send an email and be like, hey, is there a reason you dropped off? But in terms of this communist psychotic garbage, I will just put it simple. If I was told, you work 8 hours a day, you will get paid $50 an hour. You work any more than that, you get nothing. I'd say, okay, well, then I stop working. Yeah. And that's the problem with communism. Because instantly anybody who wants to do the extra mile, which is how societies improve, ceases doing so because it's just stressful for no reason. That's communism.
That's what's happening in Spain. People don't work, people are lazy. Because they just get paid by the government. So
to be fair, you've had siesta for a long time.
Yeah.
What?
You've had siesta in Spain for a long time.
We still have siesta.
I know, and you've had it well before the socialists came.
You have siesta at
But
Burning
he was
Man
actually
too.
working back then. My grandpa was such a hard-working person, but he was actually getting paid for the extra hours.
Yeah.
Now my dad works the same as my grandpa, same job, same company. He doesn't get paid for the extra hours.
The idea from what the left will say is people should do things because they want to do it. And it's like, sure. I mean, if I was told that all the extra work I was doing would do nothing towards my ability to have access, freedom, and towards my mission or whatever, I'd probably just hang out, I don't know, play some guitar on the porch, go skating a lot
And
more.
drink some beer. That's what Spanish people does.
Yeah, just, okay, if like, what do I want to do? Okay, well, I like having 2 shows, but if one of them is just dead weight, I suppose we can just stick to one of them and not do both and then spend the rest of the day, like, I don't know, going and hang out with my friends.
That's where I'm at too. It's not a good place to be because I want to make more stuff and get compensated. There's got to be a way to like, if monthly buying a Timcast membership is like $8 a month, and then you paid 99 cents a month for each show you want access to on the Timcast network, or you can pay $5 a month for direct access to the show without the $8 a month subscription. Like creative ways to like, and then you could take of those 99 cents a month for that show, you could split that off onto the people running that show.
One of the hardest things is that like inflation hits, like at a certain point, we have to increase costs of Timcast membership. And I'm just like, I guess, what do we do? We like we increase the lowest tier to $11 for all new members is like the only way we could do it. It's probably what we have to do. And it's because, people need to understand when the cost of eggs doubles, the people who work here need to eat eggs. And so that means we have to then pay people more money. That's just how it goes. And so then we're going to get people complaining, and it's like, it's difficult, but that's business stuff. That's fine. I'm just saying the communist stuff where it's like, if you do extra work, you get nothing. It's like, then I won't do it. Like I will just.
Why should you? Like, why should you? What's motivating you?
I hate that state of mind. Oh, sorry to interrupt. Because you should want to do more. I mean, before, there was a time before money. It was just about acquiring resources.
Yeah, but that was about saving your life. That was about not dying. The time before money, like before the division of labor and before money, when everybody was responsible for their own hunting, gathering, and maybe the small farms or whatever, it was not easy. It was hard living, and people died en masse.
The funny thing about these communists too is that their ideas. I did this long segment a couple weeks ago about that Richard Wolff guy, and also as a correction too about the Christian nationalists. It's not Richard Wolff.
Yeah, it's William Wolff. Is one of them?
Isn't it Stephen or something?
There's a couple of them.
But this communist guy was like,
wolves out there.
If you're getting paid $20 an hour, it's because you're creating more value. Because in order to pay you $20 an hour, your boss has to at least make that, right? Mm-hmm. The only problem with these communists who are morons is that the people who come here to clean don't actually sell or create any product I can sell. I just have to pay them what they demand if I want things to be clean and the garbage to be taken out. To which the response from the communists was, you can't do a show with a dirty studio. I beg to differ. I'm staring at Ian's desk right here, and we doing the show just fine.
You see the dust on this thing. Can you?
My point is, I don't have to pay cleaners to do it. I want to pay cleaners to do it. But by the communist argument, I should fire them. They produce no value for the system at all or for themselves. In fact, by the communist argument, they are stealing from me.
Yeah.
By taking your waste away?
Communists say that the workers are entitled to the profits of the things they create. I say, agreed. Then you're also entitled to the debts as well. That means if you're a cleaner who comes to my studio and I have to pay you X, that is debt you owe to me.
And like you're saying, what exactly? How do you value the cleanliness of your room? How do you figure out what how does that add to surplus value of the establishment here? It doesn't. You can't.
We could have garbage. For all anybody watching this knows, there could be garbage littered all across the floor. We could be sitting in mounds of Taco Bell wrappers for all they know.
Shout out to Asmodan if you're out there.
Taco Bell's great.
Yeah, love you.
But we keep things clean because we want them to be clean. But it's laughably absurd. The reality is low skill, low intelligence people demand you give them free stuff.
Yeah.
That's it. Thanks for watching this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. Hang out with us live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. and become a member over at timcast.com for uncensored, members-only shows exclusive. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all next time.